free choice. The choice of divine beings. Being divine.
Oh man, this is so, I don't know, incredible is the word my mind comes up with. I'm fighting not to say impossible to believe.
Why are you so amazed? Is it not written, ye are gods?
Yes, but who believes that stuff? Who takes it literally?
What was the point of the message if you were going to toss it aside?
I'm hearing that, but there's so much in so many holy scriptures, and not every word of it is true. Let's be fair here. There have been some misinterpretations, some misunderstandings of the original, shall I say, revelations. So we have to pick and choose, and it's not easy knowing which to hold close and truly believe.
Yes, that's why once in every great while, a highly evolved being from another dimension will embody in human form to deliver and model in human form the grandest truths, making it more possible for your emerging species to sort this all out. When a Heb becomes human in form, it will absorb, embrace, and embody all aspects of humanness, down to the smallest detail and cellular characteristic. It is therefore not alien, but entirely human, yet with characteristics of thought and temperament, awareness and understanding that its knowing and experience brings it.
And so this soul could really be called a highly evolved human.
That is exactly so. Hebs, like you, are souls, manifesting divinity in physical form. They are souls who have chosen to move from the metaphysical to the physical in your dimension in order that they may have the experience of their divinity by assisting other souls in remembering their own.
That's a wonderful clarification, a perfect exegesis.
Chapter 26.
And so a highly evolved being lives through the developmental years like any other member of our species, then begins to do the work of helping the species awaken when it grows into adulthood.
Sometimes even before then.
It begins helping when it's a child?
Sometimes, yes.
Well, how does it not stand out?
Actually, it does. It is almost always called a standout, and it may have surprised others with what it seemed to know and what it said. But the Heb's only objective was to leave information here in a way that articulated higher ideals for the consideration of a still developing culture.
But how did a highly evolved being do that? How did it leave this information? Tell me, how were we helped when a Heb came to Earth?
The Heb spoke to people, sometimes its elders, later in life its peers, and offered things that perked up ears and that have been remembered, in some cases, for centuries. It also modeled by its behavior how an awakened species could live. This was its most significant contribution to the culture, its chief means of message delivery. Some highly evolved beings left writings, adding ideas to the culture in many forms, from novels to poetry to dramatized entertainments in which they placed enormous truths.
Such as? I'm ready to start hearing now about how our awakened species thinks. I'm hoping for some examples now.
Here are some. Eliminate the concept of ever being offended, much less seeking revenge.
Whoa.
Offer only high blessings to one who hurts you.
Whoa again.
Do away with defense of any kind.
You know, those are really pretty, how to put this, advanced ideas. Any human being saying such things would probably be written off as standing way outside the mainstream, not taken really very seriously.
Don't be too sure. Such ideas have been placed in your culture and have not been written off, but actually honored. It was the man called Buddha who told his monks that even if bandits on the road attacked or robbed them, quote, "Whoever of you harbors ill will at heart would not be upholding my teaching. Monks, even in such a situation you should train yourselves thus. Neither shall our minds be affected by this, nor for this matter shall we give vent to evil words, but we shall remain full of concern and pity, with a mind of love, and we shall not give in to hatred. On the contrary, we shall live projecting thoughts of universal love to those very persons, making them as well as the whole world the object of our thoughts of universal love, thoughts that have grown great, exalted, and measureless. We shall dwell radiating these thoughts, which are void of hostility and ill will. It is in this way, monks, that you should train yourselves." And wasn't it a man named Jesus who said, "Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. And did he not also say, if a man slaps you on the right cheek, turn and offer him your left?
Are you saying that Buddha and Jesus were highly evolved beings from another dimension?
I am saying that these are ideas not widely accepted or practiced in humanity's culture at the time.
Or even today?
Or even today. Those who spoke them were inspired.
So were they Hebs or were they not?
It will serve no useful purpose here to singly identify any and every individual within humanity's history who received their inspiration from an entity who birthed as a highly evolved being embodying on your planet, or who, in fact, was one.
I'm asking because, given the information in this dialogue, some might think that you're inferring that the great teachers and philosophers and messengers of our past, from Lao Tzu to Socrates, Buddha to Jesus, from Hildegard of Bingen to Julian of Norwich 200 years later, and other models and teachers, both before and after these men and women, that you might be saying that these teachers were highly evolved beings from another dimension. Is that what you're inferring?
You see how this has already become a distraction from their message? It is almost as if the wonder and the glory of their modeling, the insight and the wisdom of their message should somehow be considered in a different way because their sharing of it may have been inspired by a highly evolved being, or because they themselves may have been such a being, come from another dimension and born to humanity to assist the species. Yet why should the origin of any message or modeling have more importance than the content? The effect of Hebs having offered inspirational assistance in your evolutionary process was not intended to cause you to question your past, but to inspire you to create a glorious future. Truth is truth, no matter what the source.
Okay, then, leaving the question of our distant past aside, let me just ask you this. Are such beings embodied on our planet today? Right now?
It would likewise serve no useful purpose to follow that line of inquiry. If I said yes, you would want to know immediately the identity of that entity. If I said no, not at this time in your history, you would then ask me to identify who was the most recent one in your past. In all cases, to identify anyone among you, past or present, as a member of an awakened species from another dimension could in some people's minds invalidate some very important messages that humans have at least partially embraced. Or, in the reverse, could inordinately elevate every word they spoke or wrote, turning them into the next thing you choose to believe in, instead of yourself.
Now that hit home.
It was meant to. There would be no point in highly evolved beings seeking to help humanity if all they did was cause humanity to start seeking help from them. The idea is for human beings to gain an awareness of who they are, not to substitute for that an awareness of who someone else is.
Yes, our religions have already done that. We don't need the process repeated.
You do not. The purpose of the entire mission in which Hebs seek to assist humanity is not to replace humanity's magnificence with their own, but to enhance humanity's magnificence with a well-chosen word or idea here or there, offered to your species for its consideration. Therefore, it has been said, and I offer a gentler version here, if you see the Buddha walking down the street, run away from him.
I never did understand that saying.
If he looks like a Buddha, walks like a Buddha, talks like a Buddha, and acts like a Buddha, he must not be a Buddha, but a fake, simply seeking your attention and adulation. Because a true Buddha would want nothing from you, least of all recognition of his greatness, and desire only your own self-realization.
Wow, I see that. I totally get that, and this is a second wonderful answer to my question a while back about myself and about others who may self-select to help awaken the species, being tempted to show up in grandiose form. Even if ego tempted one to do that, a deeper awareness would make it clear that it would defeat the whole purpose of accepting the third invitation.
It would indeed. And for the same reason, identifying any highly evolved being visiting Earth in the past or in the present would defeat the whole purpose of that rare visitation.
I get it, and I won't press for that information. Although I have to say, you certainly roused my curiosity.
Of far more benefit to you will be to satisfy your curiosity about when your entire population on Earth will decide to live as a truly awakened species. That's what Hebs would encourage you to be curious about.
Chapter 27.
Is it possible for me to understand? I mean, in layman's terms, the metaphysics of all that we've been discussing?
Yes, it is. The question is whether you have the patience for it and the interest in it. It can be helpful to you in expanding your understanding of yourself, your multidimensional universe, and even God. But it could feel a bit like a postgraduate class here for a moment.
Go. I'm all ears.
Simply consider this. Life everywhere is composed of far more space than matter. This is easily observable with either a microscope or a telescope. Not surprisingly, the universe and a grain of sand look exactly the same, depending on the degree of the sand's magnification. The macrocosm and the microcosm are essentially identical.